Welcome back to the episode of the Moneyball Cards podcast. Today we're going to be covering Wander Franco and his stats, as well as some of his baseball cards. But before that, like all other episodes, I got to show you what I picked up. Now, I went to 2 card shows this weekend. One was a local show, which mostly vintage. I always do well there. And the other show, I drove 90 minutes for. That first show, one of my big pickups was a slot of 1953 cards. Tons of them, but I was paying $2-3 a card. Couldn't pass that up. But the second show, I drove 90 minutes for, and there's only 3 dealers there. So I wasn't super happy about that, especially looking at the flyer. It seemed like there's going to be a lot of people at the show, but you know, there was a good bargain bin, and I was able to pick these 3 cards up for $12. This is a Tom Brady number /25. This is a Crosby rookie. Camera's not focusing too well. Put it back over here. And yeah, this is a Steph Curry National Treasures jumbo jersey. So $12 on those 3. I ended up buying over 200 cards in a lot, so spent about $800. But you know, it was a successful weekend, even though I didn't think it was going to be after only seeing 3 tables. But besides that, I did pick up another thing this weekend. Check this out. So this is a soccer analytics book. As you know, we haven't covered anything soccer-wise on this channel. I'm not too familiar with advanced stats on it. I don't think Jordan is either. Jordan's read quite a few different sports analytic books, but this is my first soccer one right here. I'm super excited to dive into it. You guys know I travel quite a bit for card shows, whether it's in a car or flying. So I will be reading this book and making videos along the way as I become educated and try to deep dive into the sport. That way we can cover that on this channel and I can become a better soccer collector. So with that being said, we're going to be covering Wander Franco in today's episode. If you don't know, Wander Franco, #1 prospect in baseball, got called up for the Tampa Bay Rays last year. Was on my radar really early on, but I didn't really buy many Wander Franco cards because his prices were expensive. I mean, they were kind of going for Mookie Betts' first Bowman Chromes, and I just didn't see that justification right away when you have a player like Mookie Betts, second best in baseball, probably since he got called up in 2014, and a prospect going for the same price, even though Wander Franco was something else. One thing I really liked, I mean, I'm a Tampa Bay Rays fan, so I knew quite a bit about him, but he had a really good eye in the minor leagues. So we're going to go over some of his stats here in a second. We're going to use a few different tools. First tool is going to be Fangraphs for all the baseball data, 100% for free. And the other tool is Market Movers. Anyways, I'm jumping on my computer right now. So Market Movers, I'm going to search Wander Franco, and you guys can see some of the different cards that pull up. So let's load up his Chrome Prospect Autograph. We're going to load in a 10 and a 9 so you guys can see some of the different price points across over there. And we're going to go last 365. It's literally a roller coaster. So pretty much flatline on the 10s. I mean, this thing spiked all the way to $6,000. Don't know what happened on that one. A little bit of an outlier, but then you can even see others at $4,500. Dropped all the way down here to $2,250, $2,000, half the value. Back over here at $4,000, and then there's a cheap one at $32 compared to that $3,500 threshold. Probably think a good value on that's $3,500. Whereas the 9 right now, if you look at here, $1,300, then another one at $1,000, and then another one here at $1,750. So between $1,000, let's say $1,500, and about $3,500 for the 10. So super expensive cards. Just remember what you can get for that on the vintage side of things. Tons and tons of Hall of Famers, mid to high grade at that price point. But if you want to look at his base, we'll load that up over here. His base 10 is $175, which is obviously a lot cheaper. But the thing was all the way up to $330, and it's continued to go down. There's so many of these graded. I mean, there's 10,621 currently graded, and that is quite a bit compared to his autograph card. And you can see more detailed results and everything like that over here. We'll go back to the ratio as well. When we did the ratio video, Jordan was talking about under a 1 ratio isn't a good card to buy. You can see the ratio dollar per pop is 0.02. So I personally would not be buying this card with over 10,000 10s alone. If we go to 9, let's see how many 9s there is. The ratio is just going to be as bad. So we go over here. You can see as a 9, there's 3,600. So it will technically have a higher ratio, but still, I would not recommend buying these cards because total pop between the two of them is 14,000. Compare that to some of your vintage guys. I'd rather go on that route. But this video is not just about the cards. It's about the stats of the player as well. And let's deep dive into those because everyone loves Wander Franco. First, we need to take a look at his prospect report. So they gave him a 60-80 grade on hitting, which is really, really good. Game power 45-60, raw power 55-55, speed 60, fielding at 50-55, and FV as an 80. So let's take a look at his minor league stats. So in rookie ball, he only struck out 7% of the time, hit ISO of 236, a batting average of 351, and then a WRC plus at 159. So really good across the board on that one. Let's take a look at his eye because a lot of people say Wander Franco is one of the best eyes in baseball. Again, he was only 17 when he was in rookie ball. Take that into account. Very, very young. People are still playing high school baseball when he's already playing in professional baseball. But 7%, 7.4, 6.7. As you see, he went to AAA. That increased at 11.7%. But even when he got called up, 12% strikeout rate, which is really low. A walking rate is not the highest at 8% between AAA and a major league level. You can see over 2019 and A+, he had 12%. So I do hope his walks go up a little bit more, but he has a really great eye. Another player that people say has a great eye, just for comparison, is Juan Soto. So let's load up Juan Soto over here. One of the most exciting young players in baseball. Take a look at his stats. And you can see Juan Soto, who everyone says has a really good eye, strikes out 14% of the time and walks 20%. And then last year, 22% for 14. So he's a lower strikeout percentage than Juan Soto, much younger again, 20 years old. At 20 years old, Soto had a 20% strikeout rate, 16% walk. But you can see that walk rate, unfortunately, is a little bit low. But again, more to the story than just a walk rate. Let's take a look at his batting average, and we're going to look at WRC plus as well. So batting average wise in AAA, he batted 313. People typically look at a 300 batting average. You can see his OBP is 372, slugging is 583, but WRC plus at 150, and even the major leagues 127. So he is above average as a rookie at the age of 20. 127, really, really good. So we're going to continue to go down over here, some more individual stats for you guys to take a look at. And I wanted to look at some of his batted ball profiles. So now let's take a look at his pull percentage and also opposite field. So looking at the data over here, originally in rookie ball, 44% pull, 23% center field, 32% oppo. So pulls the ball quite a bit in comparison to the opposite field. But even the major leagues right here, 36% pull, almost 40% center field, and then 24% oppo. So people know 75% of the time Franco is either hitting the center field or left field. It's a little bit high. The problem is, again, the shift, just because it's so used in baseball, and once teams have all that data and information on a player, they're going to shift against them. Thank you, Joe Madden. But still, I wish that was distributed a little bit better, but it is what it is. Also wanted to show you guys some additional information over here. So his ISO in Major League Baseball did decrease a little bit at 174. I'm looking for at least a 200 ISO. Again, there's not a big sample size. He only played in 70 games, and he's only 20 years old. Put that in mind. Most players don't get even called up till 22 or 23. So Wander Franco is going to get those additional years in the major leagues, whereas other players are going to be stuck in the minors. And baseball is a stat accumulation sport. So we take a look at how much stats someone has, whether it's 500 home runs or 3,000 hits. Hardware is important, obviously, and so is World Series titles. But there are people that aren't in the Hall of Fame that even won 5 World Series. People look at 3,000 hits or 500 home runs for hitters, throw them in, and they also look at something called wins above replacement WAR. And even in rookie year for WAR-wise, you can see this over here, 2.5 WAR in 70 games. And 22 projection is 5 WAR playing 150 games. So by the age, or I shouldn't say by, but through age 21, they predict Wander Franco to have 7.5 WAR. So if you want to have someone have 65 WAR at the end of the career, Franco is getting a really, really good start. And he had 7 home runs last year in 70 games. So home run every 10 or so games. Home run wise, again, we saw from the ISO, not too great. We want to get this number a little bit higher. It is lacking, but still, again, 20 years old. So that's the wrap up of Wander Franco. He's super young and needs a lot more data to make a final conclusion or final thoughts on his profile. But what we can tell is he doesn't walk a lot, but has a good eye because he doesn't strike out. Power so far is a little bit lacking, but he's 20 years old. And a lot of players end up developing over time. I mean, I'll give you one more example on this is Mike Trout. You can see as soon as Mike Trout entered the league, he wasn't the superstar he is today. At the age of 19, batted .220, which wasn't too great. But again, 19 years old, really, really young, and had 5 home runs. His next year, he had 30 home runs, 27, and then he started scaling up to the numbers that we see today.